the movie no one saw being good at all, John Wick, got a sequel, John Wick Chapter 2. Alright, what is up guys, this is my review for John Wick Chapter 2. This is the sequel, of course, as I said before, of John Wick, the first movie that came out, I think 2014, starring Keanu Reeves. A movie that literally, I don't think anyone said that's going to be really, really good. I think everyone expected it to be just the everyday, run-of-the-mill action movie, but it was so much more. It was so much better than I think anyone ever anticipated. So they gave it a sequel, and it was good. I'll start off with that. It was a good movie. Was it as good as the first one? No. I think this movie was the wet dream of an action fan. This is exactly what every action fan wanted. This is bang, 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 fights, cool. Great action scenes, fantastic action scenes, fantastic visuals for these action scenes. Keanu Reeves was just fantastic in this thing. I mean, he does his best with some lines. There's some very iffy lines, but he does his best with them, and he makes them work a lot of the time. I think he really works so much harder than a lot of actors when it comes to action. He does everything. He learns these fights, he learns these scenes, and he does them so well. And that's why this movie, I mean, John Wick stands out for so much more than any other action movie, because it's just much more effort put into these movies though. Saying that, this movie had some bad things as well. I'll get into them in a minute, but I think the great things were definitely Keanu Reeves. The characters, the side characters were phenomenal as well. I think these actresses, Ruby Rose, Common, these guys that actors and actresses that you don't expect to be well, do well, did well. I mean, Ruby Rose didn't speak, which is good. No, they did well, and I think all the side characters really worked. I think it was a really decent movie. Saying that though, it does become very over the top, and that's the thing I didn't really want it to fall into, but it kind of does at points. It becomes very over the top action movie, and it does become so far-fetched, and it doesn't really make sense at times when it comes to the plot. I mean, there is literally a scene where, blah blah, it's texted out, some an assassin ship, everyone's looking at their phones, like it's a fucking park full of assassins. I mean, that's where it gets a bit ridiculous, gets a bit over the top when it comes to specific scenes and specific plots in this thing. But they do give you a side of that we didn't see in the first one. I mean, it was very focused on John Wick and killing this guy and killing, getting revenge of his dog and what happened. But in this one, they try to dive into more of the world of the assassins, which is really cool. I think that's something they did really well. Is they gave us more depth in the story and more depth of John Wick's character and the world he was living in before he retired. And obviously, that's still a big thing that he's retired. He doesn't want to do this, but for whatever reason, I won't explain, he does get brought back into it, and that's, I think, really worked well. I think it did supply you a decent plot to come back to, because how else? You stopped there and he's got his revenge. Where do you go from that? They show you and they explain why, and it does. I think they did a really good job of that. I think, yeah, specific weakness is that it becomes very over the top and it becomes, very nonsensical in some points. But I think it was a really good movie. I think the biggest thing they were missing was the motivation in the first one, which made it such a good movie, which made it such a brilliant movie, is they gave him so big motivation. It was such a, killing his dog shouldn't have been such a big thing, but it showed how much it meant to him. They gave motivation to him because of his wife's death. They showed how much it really meant to him, and it gave you motivation. It made you root for him. This is kind of a movie, it's like, what's your motivation? Oh yeah, try not to die. And you're like, okay, cool, he's trying not to die, but it doesn't get you behind John Wick as much. Because you've still got the momentum from the first one, it does. If this was the first movie, I don't think you'd have much momentum behind John Wick as you do. Saying that though, this, again, is just an action fan's wet dream. This is exactly what every action movie should be. The action in this is flawless. It is really well done. I think the movie really well done, except it becomes very nonsensical, and that's the thing that they, I think, overstep in this one. But saying that, this is still a very good movie. I think, yeah, again, this is what every action movie aspires to be. This is something that every action hero should aspire to be. Something that can give you that great of an action scene. And I tell you that, Keanu Reeves is back, ladies and gentlemen. He is killing it. That is it, guys, for my review of John Wick Chapter 2. This movie was, I only saw this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm reviewing it now. I was actually going to review it probably in about 10 movies time. I don't know how long that'll be, but I got like 10 other reviews that I saw before this movie. But because Australia got delayed 3 months, 3 months after this movie came out February in the US, early February. We saw this middle of May, so I moved this up in my schedule so I can get it out, because it's ridiculous. I don't know why it was so delayed. That's bullshit. But saying that though, you should definitely check it out if you haven't already. Some countries will still have it out in cinemas. If not, you'll have to wait for it to come out, because I'm very late in these reviews. But if not, you can like, you can subscribe, turn on those notifications, and of course have a good one.